Hello, I'm so excited to be here with Jen Sperry Steinorth. Thank you so much for joining me in this video bonus to your Plume feature this month. I want to dive right in here, and I know I can see it on the shelf behind you. You've got a few of the different versions of the artifact, so maybe you could show us that.
Sure, absolutely. And
Yeah.
thanks for having me. So yes, when I first started her read, I thought, well, I wasn't sure if it would go anywhere. But I found this copy, what used to look uh, like this. Let's see. Here's an intact copy. Um, and I carried it around with me everywhere, and the spine fell off, and at some point the entire cover, it's like held together by threads. And so this is the first artifact. It took me about 4 years. And at some point I found this, I was working only in whiteout, and then I found this buff colored whiteout that was, I think, used for like manila folders. And that was awesome because it let me do patterns. Let's see, here's another, this was fun. I knew I needed to alter all the pages. And so I would do things like try to come up with ways so that the illustration, so we didn't have copyright problems.
Hmm.
So everything though was in just like white and buff with like some, as I went on, I got more elaborate with color.
And
Uh,
so, and the tools that you used, I know you had quite a number. I know you stitching, and you were doing quite a lot. So, you maybe talk about that process and what that was like for you, or show us some of the tools that you work.
sure. I just realized I didn't bring my tools. But I used a scalpel, like a small pen knife scalpel, and X-Acto knife. And that was more towards the end as I started to get more agency over the materials, as the speaker started to get more agency over the materials, right? So you have this like woman's voice or multiple women's voice, kind of evolving as it goes.
Oh,
Uh,
talk to me about that. That is like so fascinating. So,
yeah, it did change. It got more authoritarian, found a voice, and then kind of would get overcome by the things it was talking about a little bit, and sometimes dissipate into more visual and less syntactical sense. So I think about like 3/4 of the way through, there are places where it's almost like a record skip and in terms of the voice, but the image is progressing, and then the voice picks back up in really pretty clear syntactical wholeness. um
you're giving
and
me
that
chills. You're really truly giving me chills, because that's just, I mean, that's I think we can feel that, that interiority, right? And those gaps and those silences. I mean, wow. Wow. That's fascinating.
yeah, it was weird. It was a weird, but I also was thought, like I can't just go on and on. The book was big. It was a 266-page book, and to just go on with whiteout, I didn't think I could keep it, keep the tension. And so, other things kind of grew besides using the whiteout and progress, and then it became like a game. And a lot of times it was like, there's a problem. How do I solve this problem? Oh, if I cut this apart, um, and I had too many pages, so I needed to collapse some of them. So like, here's one where, um, like, this,
Wow.
this is a page that I cut out. I didn't need what was on the back side. And it's Abraham, and the angel is coming to stop Abraham from slaughtering his son, sacrificing his son. And so on a separate sheet, I had, please let us refashion the story. And not that I want to, undo that story, but, you know,
So
there's things to talk about with that.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, in some of our offline conversation, we have talked about, I mean, I'm going in so many different directions at the moment, but, we've talked a little bit about just sort of the ethics and the considerations kind of surrounding, doing or undertaking a project like this.
Yeah, I think it is important to be mindful that, so in the bigger history, right, when work is intentionally erased, right, that, oftentimes that story is being written by the conquerors. And so when you're participating in that act of undoing somebody else's work, um, what is your, why are you doing that, where is that coming from, and very often, the form teaches us something about the work. And so in the form, when erasures are used, a thing, if the thing is in conversation with some other kind of erasure, that's going to be more powerful. And also, if the thing that is being made is in conversation with the source text, that I think is when you've got a power moment. Like, and there's all different kinds of conversations or relationships. You can be antagonistic to your source text, you could be in love with your source text, you could be using the source text as a metaphor to stand in for some bigger thing. Like, there's a lot of different kinds of complicated relationships, but there's this immediate dialogue between the new thing and the old thing.
I think it's important to mention that the book by Herbert Reed, he was an art critic, right?
Right.
And so this book was published in 1931, and it wasn't for like what 20 years later that I mean, his book had no women in it
Yeah.
in the
Well,
first.
there were many women in it. They were in the paintings.
Right, right, right.
It was the
Yes,
Virgin Mary is really in there.
the men talking about the women.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and this was a man who was pretty progressive for his time. I don't even think that there is a single she pronoun until Barbara Hepworth appears on page like 250. Um, and even when Barbara Hepworth appears, I only found one she pronoun. Like, and I haven't gone back to see if maybe there was a she while referring to the Mary in a painting or something. It could be in there. I didn't, but I kind of don't think there is, especially given Hepworth's appearance. Like, and he writes about her for about 4 pages, and there's just that one pronoun. So the book is, there's a lot of working in the binary in the book because the book kind of begs that, it seemed to me. But there's also an attempt to move past the binary in the like as we're moving out, thinking about that, right? Naming the trauma, but then attempting to imagine something beyond that, that's bigger than that, and that allows, inflammation to like turn into something, that energy to turn into something else, something better, something more like love.
So, Jen, you've got some workshops and a book launch coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on and where people and our readers can find out more information?
Absolutely. So you can always check with my website. There's an events page there. And
Website is.
oh, that is jennifersperrysteinorth.com.
Thank you so much for your time, your energy, and the space making the space to talk about her read. This has been really wonderful. So thank you so much.